Yeah, Marcus Garvey had a famous quote. He said, you know, don't ever get frustrated with the masses of people, because if all else fails to organize them, the very conditions of their own immiseration will organize them. Eric Garner's death was incredibly tragic. And the most tragic part of Eric Garner's death is that it was really nothing unique. The only difference was it was caught on camera. No police is ever convicted for these extremely racist, violent crimes and murders of our people. In New York City, there's an epidemic of police violence, as I mentioned earlier. So there was a case of Amadou Diallo. Some of y'all are probably familiar with this. I really don't know through what lens you see U.S. society. If the news breaks through a little bit, now that you have the internet and stuff. In the United States, even Fox News, as reactionary as they are, they could not ignore this stuff. You can't ignore hundreds of thousands of people shutting down bridges. Now, I've been doing this, thanks for the title, professional protester. Nothing could make me prouder. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I have never seen us shut down every highway, every bridge. There was no more business as usual. The black community, the Latino community, people were saying, this stops now, Black Lives Matter. So there was a certain spontaneity to it. But of course, as professional revolutionaries or protesters, we want to grab the spontaneity and make sure that it keeps going. And we want to link every struggle, the LGBT struggle, the struggle against the police, the struggle against mass incarceration, the struggle for women's liberation, the struggle for black liberation. All these different struggles overlap. And our strength is how we can tap into each one of these individual rivers and create one mighty flood or torrent. So this movement exploded out of nowhere. But it was really the accumulation of decades and decades and centuries of black anger and oppression of the black community. So I mentioned the spontaneity, definitely the tens of thousands of people who went into the streets, but there's also an organized component. We were ready with 500 placards or signs, and the slogans are very important. NYPD is guilty. Last year they let George Zimmerman go. One of our slogans was, how many George Zimmermans are there in the NYPD? So there's a certain preparation as well. There's a certain professionalization of the activism. We had the placards ready to go. We have mass emailing lists, the social media. Sometimes you need a permit for certain marches. But if you have hundreds and hundreds of people ready to do it, you don't need that permit. You can take the streets. I've never seen the streets taken in New York City as they've been taken in the past few months. Martin Luther King's birthday is on Thursday, and because it's so cold, I mean, consider yourselves, that's one of the other things that attracted me to Georgetown. Y'all don't know what it means to march through the streets, unless you've lived in Toronto or New York, in 20-degree weather. So we're calling this the winter of resistance, but it's very difficult. You have to be very creative with your tactics. In the old days, the marches would start at 5, and you were home by 7:30 or 8 to feed your children. These last marches the past 2 months started at 5, 5:30, and 3, 4, 5, 6 hours later, we're still going strong. And when we march through the Bronx, more and more people are getting involved. You should have sign-up lists. You should have petitions. That's a great way to get people's, in terms of organizing 101, petitions are great. So you have, in the interior, in the hinterland right now today, you had miners who haven't been paid, who've been on strike. So there's these different struggles. You could suddenly, and I'm just brainstorming here, I'm not familiar with the Guyanese context the same way you all are, but with a petition, you have to find that central demand and you organize around that demand. What's a demand that could unite the progressive, open-minded, anti-imperialist-minded youth and people in Guyana? That's something maybe to come up with, and then you circulate those petitions, and y'all have a great base. We've had meetings where 3 people showed up. So it's not over-glorified. Activism. See, the thing about activism, right now is a high point of struggle. But there's ebbs and there's flows. In between these horrific murders, after Trayvon Martin, the streets last summer with Trayvon Martin, again, we had hundreds of thousands. I was in California at the time. Oakland transportation, highways shut down, but then that died down. And it took another horrific event with Michael Brown's murder to ignite these passions again. But it's so in your face. The central contradiction in your face in the United States, whether it's New York, Detroit, Miami is the presence of the police. Because the police exist, and I've seen it here in Georgetown as well, the police exist not just to harass you and keep you in a good place, but they also exist to extract more money from you. So many of the tickets that you see are crimes of poverty in the United States. They're not crimes at all, but for example, you have to pay $2.50 to get on a train, whether it's the A train or the 2 train, and just to get to school. But if you don't have that money, you might have to sneak over it or under it, and there's always undercover cops who are there to give you a ticket. And then you have to go pay $150, which you didn't have to begin with. And that happens so often in the black and brown communities. So it's like they've already exploited us all day at our jobs, but on top of that, they're also robbing you of this. It gets so ridiculous that there's a crime called jaywalking. If you don't wait for the lights to change and the police don't like how you look, they can come give you a ticket. That's another court appearance and $150. But they don't do that in the white community. They don't do that on Fifth Ave. So you see social apartheid in the United States. So those are some of the issues that we organize around. And in terms of the risks that the brother mentioned, I mean, if you want to make change in history, you're running risks. You know? Myself as an internationalist, I've definitely run certain risks. Certain universities aren't going to appoint me, aren't going to give me tenure. Because I tweeted something about Palestine, the truth about Palestine. I mean, there's a lot of hypocrisy with this whole campaign about Je suis Charlie, because it's horrific what happened in Paris, but don't apply a double standard of hypocrisy. Don't segregate your tickets. What happened to Palestinian journalists with all the massacres in Gaza and the West Bank was equally horrific, but no major news outlet covered it in any type of way. So I think we have to be aware about how these, how they try to popularize or shed crocodile tears about some of these issues, as if they really care.